Hi, this is Group 1's contribution to the Comp 3013 coursework. Team members Andreas, Rauter, Mark Loyd, Aleksandar Rusinov. Enjoy! So let's start by creating a new user. We've already filled the fields with values designed to fail the validation. We want to show you that you don't have to go through the tedious process of refilling all the fields when validation fails. First we left out the city, and next the passwords didn't match. And you can see that we have feedback that the registration was successful. We go into our email and we see we have a new email from AuctionHouse. We click the verify address link because if you're not verified you can't log into the account. And we have another feedback that says our registration is completed. Finally, if we check our email again, we see that we have an account that's fully verified and ready to use. And now we're going to log in with the account we just created and log out. And suppose you forget your password, we can click the forget password link, enter our email address, press reset password, and in our email we should have a link to change our password. And again, you receive a notification via email. So we're going to log back in with the account we just created. It's worth showing that you can update your user profile. I'm just changing my address and postcode and save changes. And you get a notification that your profile has been updated. And I'm going to add an image for this user. And when logged in, you can also change your password, but I won't show me changing that. So now let's show the capability where a seller can create a new an auction for a new item. So let's just fill out the fields like item name, brand, category, condition. Let's also upload an image for this auction. And then we enter the description and specify the start and end time and the start and reserve price. Just a quick note that you can start the auction at any time, but in this case we started the auction right away. So now we can see our newly created auction under live auctions. And if a seller wishes to delete the auction that they made, it can be done. We should definitely mention that in order to demonstrate the auction system, we need to simulate the data that will be created by real users, which we obviously don't have. We took real product information we found in a public CSV, and with the help of a faker library, we seeded the database to a reasonable approximation of real data. Although you may see some strange item images and item names for their respective categories. We have roughly 10,000 auctions and 1,000 users. So in that case, the user was selling an item, but if you want to buy, you can search the auctions already available on the system. We can order it by best match, the price-wise, or time ending soonest, time ending last. We can also order it by category. We can search by category. Sometimes there are too many results to be shown on one page, so we've implemented a pagination. And if you want to see more information and bid on it, you have to click on it. So here we're trying to show what happens when we have multiple users trying to interact with the system. The buyer on the right is entering a bid for £100, and we see feedback. The buyer can go into current bids to see what auctions he's actually bidding on. As we see, the lawnmower is now there. The seller of the lawnmower received a notification that he has a new bid. So now we just fast forwarded to when the lawnmower is about to end, and the seller gets a notification that the auction has been won, and it's under his sold items. And in this case, we're going to leave a feedback for the buyer. And then the seller leaves the feedback. If we go over to the buyer, so you've got notification, not only has he won the auction, he also has received feedback from the seller. And the auction appears under his won auctions, and he's going to leave a feedback for the seller. Press submit. And we can see the seller's feedback because the username is linked back to the seller's feedback page. We can also see our own feedback by clicking on my feedbacks. And we can see the seller the feedback the seller left for us. So we're just jumping back in time quickly for the same lawnmower, just to show that the seller can see extra information about who made the bids and when, how many people have viewed and how many people have watched the auction, just to keep them up to date as the auction is progressing. So when a seller's auction has ended, he can access information about that auction through the sold auctions page or the unsold auctions page. He will find it in the relevant page depending on whether it was sold or unsold. So here we're just showing the watch functionality, and the idea is that if you find an auction via the search or through your recommendations, you can have a quick reference to it. You can find it, you can see what the current price is, who's bid, how many people bid on it. So here we're just placing a watch on a pure baby powder. And you may want to watch an auction not because you're interested in buying it, but also to see whether it was sold and for what price. So these remain in your watch list. You can also delete anything from your watch list. So here again we're using two browsers logged in as different users. They're both buyers. We're demonstrating what happens when you get outbid. The buyer on the right is entering a bid for £80. The buyer on the left sees that he's been outbid by another buyer. He can see the status of the auction under his current bids, as does the buyer on his right, who is currently the highest bidder. So from the perspective of the buyer, when he has placed a bid on an auction but he has not won the auction, it will appear in his lost auctions. For instance, this electric saw. So for any buyer, we also recommend auctions to him based on collaborative filtering, which we list on several pages, including his watch list and his current bids, and when he searches for an auction at the bottom of the page. We recommend 20 auctions to him, with the most relevant recommendations appearing first. When we don't have enough recommendations, we'll fill the rest of it with the most popular auctions on the database. So how do we implement the recommendation system? So suppose we want to find auction recommendations for a user with user ID 1. First, we find all users that have placed bids on at least one or more of the same auctions. We then give a weighting to each user which reflects the number of auctions that they have bid on that they have in common. We can see that user 2 has bid on 2 of the same auctions, user 4 has bid on 3. There are only 2 users in the system that have common auction bids. Because user 4 matches with more auctions than user 2, user 4 is weighted more strongly than user 2. All auctions start with a score of 0. For each auction either user 2 or 4 has bid on, where user 1 has not, we increment the score by the respective user weighting, leading to a final score. So this is the pseudocode, if you're interested, that we implement on the PHP server. We run the real script on the server every 10 minutes to update the recommendations list for each respective user. Thank you for watching.